Today's episode is sponsored by COINSUB, the easiest way for anyone to accept, manage, and check out using crypto payments. Get started today using the promo code in the links. Welcome back to Web3 Unpacked, everyone. I'm Rich Pasqua, and joining us today is Max Kaufman, Head of Growth for Helika, an industry-leading data analytics, marketing, and game management platform focused on driving profitable UA growth, deriving impactful insights, and optimizing game experiences. Welcome, Max.
Thank you very much, Rich. Really appreciate the time today and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, same here. And Max, as I was doing my research, I realized that you have a pretty rich history within the Web3 space, and more specifically, the measurement platform technology end of things, which is really cool because that's something that, everyone's excited to build products. And sometimes measurement, marketing, and everything else that goes with it goes by the wayside. But that's good that you guys are focusing it. And you started your career with Oracle, leading into Glue and ChainStack, and now you're at Helika, which is all a solid foundation for Web3. So that's awesome. And one of the things we really like to do here is, in getting to know our guests and their products, is really understanding your journey. What was your Web3 journey like?
Yeah, so thanks again, Rich, for the quick introduction. As you can see, I've always been in the data space for the most part, in data analytics, and more on the infrastructure side. And I think a lot of people and news and media gets carried away with consumer applications and kind of the flashy things that go on, in the industry in general. And I've always been more fascinated about actually what goes on behind the scenes for all the really exciting products that are being built. So really a quick history of my background. I started my career at Oracle. I was in the enterprise cloud technology infrastructure space for them, which was really exciting at the time because it was at the time when they were heavily competing with AWS as a new cloud business. And across the full suite of solutions, they really helped provide a lot of value across database services, analytics, ERP, and other things across the board, from small, medium-sized businesses up to enterprise organizations. So got a lot of really strong, solid foundational experience, just understanding really what data meant and how valuable it is to organizations at scale. From there, moved to one of the fastest growing e-commerce data analytic companies in the United States, based in North Carolina, called Glue, a full data consolidation platform for e-commerce companies. And this was around the time of COVID, when the e-commerce industry was booming at the time. So measurement tools around e-commerce was extremely important because everyone was flying so quickly and didn't really have time to do it themselves underneath the hood. And that really brought me to Web3, where during that time, it was around the COVID period where a lot of people had more time on their hands than usual because they couldn't really do that many things outside. It was actually when a really good friend of mine called me and he brought up an NBA Top Shot moment being sold for, I think it was like $45,000. It was a Ja Morant moment, and we're both really big NBA fans and follow the league really close. We go to a lot of games together, and we were just like, how is this like almost like YouTube highlight being sold for, almost six figures? And we were just kind of like blown back by what that even meant. We had no idea. So that got us to dive into the NBA Top Shot platform, which at the time, kudos to Dapper Labs and the Flow blockchain. They really built an incredible consumer application and project on blockchain that was really easy to use. You didn't have to use MetaMask or any decentralized wallet at the time. They had the Dapper wallet. You could sign in with email. You could use credit card to buy USDC, and you can buy your favorite NBA highlights, and that were actually minted on chain as NFTs. So that got us really learning, exploring about what NFT technology meant, what blockchain technology meant, and really, why it's valuable to organizations and consumers. And for me personally, it was more like an emotional kind of unlock in my brain, because I came from the data space and I was used to selling centralized databases. And when I realized that, teams or people or brands or just friends in general could actually authenticate and see, hey, Max owns this NBA highlight, he must be a fan of this player or this team. I was like, kind of clicked in my brain. I was like, okay, if I buy a lot of my favorite basketball teams' moments, maybe that team will give me discounts in the future on jerseys or on games or merchandise or things like that, just because they know I'm a huge fan, because they could actually prove it. And that's really the value I saw in ownership and having data encrypted on a blockchain technology and a network like that. So that was from there, and just having more time during the COVID time period, dove headfirst into the Web3 landscape personally. So that was like trying a lot of the gaming projects that were really popular back in the day, like Zedrun, Axie Infinity, DeFi Kingdoms, Krabata was a big game on Avalanche. I can name a ton. And then, of course, all the NFT projects that came up out of nowhere. So got really involved personally in that space, and brought me to wanting to work full time in the industry, because at the end of the day, people were just throwing a lot of magic internet money at anything that was coming up, and no one knew who was actually building those projects. So I was always really interested in understanding the founding teams, the tech a little bit better, and who was really building a lot of these new up and coming games and NFT projects and other projects in the gaming or in the Web3 space in general. So that's how I ended up working full time at Chainstack, and the rest is history.
Mm. Yeah, great story. And, it's always good to hear that there's a lot of, like for you, there was passion for the teams, which actually pushed you and your talents and your understanding of data and analytics to creating something fresh and new. And I like the idea that you brought up NFTs, because, right now, NFTs, depending on who you are, could be a dirty word, right? For some people, but you hit on something that I feel passionate about, where NFTs is not just a Bored Ape or, whatever it may be, or even a team card or player card with statistics on it, which is cool unto itself, but it's the experience it unlocks through your wallet. So you asking for, hey, maybe I'll get a discount. Maybe I'll get a signed poster or something really cool when I go to a physical event, or there's activity being done through that physical event, through the NFT. That's really exciting. And that's really the future, I think, of NFTs. So very cool. Yeah. Very, very cool. Now,
fun fact, by the way, when you talk about that, so Helika at its start, and I'll just touch on just the very beginning stages of Helika. So we actually went to market as a more focused Web3 data intelligence platform, and many of our top customers at that time in 2022 were the top NFT projects, like all of Yuga Labs assets, like Bored Apes, et cetera, Pudgy Penguins, DeGods, Zukis, and a lot of the reason was we could help provide more clarity and insight into what their users and their community also owned. So what else was in their wallet, and that could, correlate into really what other interests did they have within the Web3 ecosystem in general across multiple different chains, and not just Ethereum or Solana at the time. So that was actually a big part of the beginning stages of Helika, was leveraging that data piece to better understand, those communities for those top projects, which is it was kind of a cool circle moment for me when I started working at Helika.
Absolutely. Yeah. It creates, and what a lot of marketing folks right now don't see, they see NFTs and whatever they hear in the media, but it opens up this wonderful network of advertising and marketing beyond what you've originally purchased, which is really cool. And that's coming. I mean, like, people have to realize that is coming, and it's going to unlock really powerful tools for marketers. So we are going to dive into all things Helika, and we are going to, scratch the surface, dig a little deeper. But right now, Max, what is the high level idea of Helika?
Yeah, I mean, high level, we provide end-to-end data analytics platform. So the big problem, and that's like first and foremost, like the foundational product suite that we provide. And I'll speak more on what we've been building recently and what we're providing in the future. But really the big problem, I would say, not just gaming, consumer application companies in general, and, if we talk about NFT projects and so forth, is organizations have a bunch of different data sources and a lot of disparate tooling. And so that was one of the first problems that we wanted to solve, was especially with Web3 data being so powerful, we wanted to not only bring together off-chain data sets all in one place, but enrich that with the Web3 data. So we empower, game studios and other organizations to have full visibility and understanding of their user and their player base across all data points, on-chain actions, social engagement actions, in-game, and other off-chain data sets. So whether a user is tweeting something on X, they're posting in Discord, they're writing in a Telegram channel, they're making a purchase on Ethereum or Polygon or a couple other chains, and then they're also a really good gamer and consistently increasing their level or their rank or earning assets or weapons, we essentially track all those metrics and map it back to a singular user. So studios and organizations are able to have a full 360 view of their user base. And then from there, really the exciting stuff that we've been working on is leveraging that very strong, comprehensive, foundational data analytics tech stack and building more engagement and live ops tooling. So studios, once those users come in, they've acquired them, can start to have the visibility they need to drive higher engagement, higher retention, and ultimately monetize and build a sustainable, long-lasting economy and organization.
Yeah, very cool. And a lot of times we hear when we're talking about analytics and data, people immediately, including myself, go right to like, oh, it's enterprise. But what you're really talking about is, yes, it could be an enterprise type of thing, but it's for individuals, right? And that's where the power of Web3 comes in, and, tokenization of assets and whatever you have. That's super important. And obviously, I'm in branding and design and all, even I've done game design for Nickelodeon for years. So I understand this world. But you mentioned, you and your team mentioned that game studios are basically flying blind, right? Which means, for me, the question will be, how many studios out there do you suspect are kind of not really grokking the right data or enough data or data at all?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. And honestly, I was very surprised when I started working at Helika and really started working with many of the top studios in the Web3 gaming ecosystem, just because you'd think, if you raise a ton of money and everyone's hyping you up on the outside looking in, everything's A-okay, internally. But then you quickly realize, honestly, how complex data architecture is, and orchestrating all the data systems together is at scale. And that's really the biggest problem that we saw in gaming and even in traditional gaming. You have like the teams that are really good at it, the large studios like a Zynga or a Scopely. Obviously EA is super successful because you got to be good with data if you're going to be making money in gaming. But in Web3, 99.9% of the teams don't have the luxury or the resources to hire multi-million-dollar data teams that include like data scientists, data engineers, data analysts, and really like what you need to build a very strong data stack in-house. And that's not even talking about on-chain data, which if you work in the space and you're on the engineering side, it's very resource intensive, it's expensive. There's millions and millions of transactions, even by the minute on each one of these chains. So parsing through that data, making it make sense, and then bringing it in, enriching it with other data sets is extremely difficult and it's complex. So that's why we went to market, in the Web3 space as almost like as an extension of these teams and like a trusted partner in terms of cleaning up a lot of the data that's underneath the hood and bringing everything together in one place and then orchestrating it, so it's all tied back to that user. So then you can really leverage it to better, to better understand and optimize your game studio. So it's not necessarily that teams don't have the quote unquote tooling available. It's more so spending the time, the resources, the labor, and almost dealing with the headache of trying to do it yourself or working with a strong partner like Helika.
Yeah, all good points. And I don't care if you're small, medium, or large game studio or any Web3 app or DApp for that matter, you're running at speed and you're running generally lean, especially nowadays. So to have a partner that can do all of this on-chain data analytics is really, really powerful. And to your point again, on-chain data is there for everyone, but it's very, very, very hard to mine, right, and make sense of. So this is really exciting. And you brought up a few minutes ago some of your partners, and you've got some pretty right out of the gate some pretty big names. Animoca, who I've talked to in the past, Ubisoft, Yuga Labs. Who else are you working with? It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're working with a breadth of games. Now we're really fortunate. We're supporting over, I would say, 50 or maybe 55 now studios globally in all key regions, which is really exciting. So we get to see a lot that's going on. A couple other teams, you mentioned the Ubisofts of the world, which are super exciting because they're really paving the way for what it would look like for, a legit AAA studio. Building, leveraging their IP to build and leverage a Web3 game economy, which is exciting. And other ones, one of the first teams that we started working with, Proof of Play, they're building Pirate Nation, which is really innovative, fully on-chain game that's leveraging their own L3 chains on the Arbitrum Orbit tech stack. And we started supporting them at the very beginning where it was, they were on Polygon and they almost basically broke the chain with how many transactions they had. Then we go over to Arbitrum One, Nova, and then now their own L3s. And their founder was one of the members that built Farmville. So he understands social gaming to a T. And scaling to users, a billion users or, however many they had back in the day. And so they're a really exciting studio to work with and very innovative on the Web3 side. A couple other ones, Wildcard, Paul or Katie Bettner, they've built Age of Empires, they built Wars with Friends, they sold that to Zynga. They have a very strong background, and I believe they raised over $40 or $50 million for Wildcard, which is a studio in the game that they're building. We're working with them. Another one is Azra Games that just announced a $42.7 million raise today, led by Pantera and A16Z. So we're supporting them. They're still early on in game dev development, but very fortunate enough to be working with many exciting studios. But also we've been running accelerator programs across Telegram and just our business in general. We get to work with a lot of exciting startup studios as well. So got a lot of oversight in the industry right now.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing because you're working with all these top companies that, to your point, have been there, done it. They understand data. They understand gaming. They understand a lot of things. So I would imagine there's so much knowledge transfer between Helika and your partners, which is fabulous. Fantastic.
Exactly. And that's one thing that is really beneficial for us is we get to see day in and day out what makes game studios successful and what some of the top teams are doing from a strategic standpoint, whether that's through user acquisition, through data analysis, through go-to-market, tokenomics, and more. So we definitely get almost like the ground level view of the industry.
Yeah. And it's funny because, rule number one of, user experience or, understanding your audience is listening, right? So it works the same way with your clients and your partners, right? So listen, these are the folks that have tons and many, many years of knowledge under their belt. So that's great. I always love hearing that. And also, because our audience, a lot of folks out there are either, they're not just buying and trading. they're also entrepreneurs, right? And they want to do what you're doing, maybe not in the same sector, but they're learning and they're trying to be self-sustainable. Who are some of your VC partners, if you can say that, speak to
Yeah,
that?
for sure. It's all public knowledge. So we very lucky to have raised a Series A earlier this year, led by Pantera Capital, which is one of the strongest VCs in the Web3 space. They've
Yeah.
been around since 2013, I believe, with the Bitcoin fund that they launched, over 10 years ago, and they've played a very prominent role investing in and helping, facilitate the growth of many of the top companies in Web3. So really exciting that they viewed us as a really strong gaming partner. And then the other ones, Diagram Ventures out of Canada, is led and incubated the seed round and then invested in the last round. Fermion's another one. It's really strong. Fimbushi Capital, Sparkle Ventures, which is part of Inamoka brand. So yeah, we're fortunate to have a good cap table and partners at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see sometimes when you get the couple of big boys on board, then everyone follows suit, which is really interesting. And, truth be told, there's tons of money flooding into Web3 gaming. So, and I think we'll touch on that later, but really, really exciting. Now, Web2 and Web3, conversion is a big part of Web3 unto itself within the gaming world. Can you share some examples of how successful Web3 games or companies are integrating Web2 growth strategies into their playbook?
Yeah, I think a really good example is very recent, within the last week with Godzilla Games. So this is a studio out of Germany that's building Off the Grid, which is a AAA extraction royale shooter. And they've, I don't know if you've seen like the gameplay. I mean, it's really a great game in general. Like it's not even like it's a good Web3 game. Like it's a good game. It's getting a crazy good reviews right now. I know that they partnered with a lot of traditional streamers, Ninja, Clicks, and then there's a lot of others. Like literally, the list goes on, and they spend a lot of time just leveraging the traditional gaming marketing rails to get publicity and to build a lot of awareness across many of the top channels and ad platforms. So they've gained a lot of traction so far, still very early. The cool thing is they've been building on Avalanche, their own L1. All the blockchain stuff is pretty much hidden right now to the end user. So a lot of people don't even know it's a Web3 game. Yet they're getting sucked into it, which is really exciting. So that's been a really good success story for the industry so far. In other ways, mobile games always targeting and utilizing Google Ads, Facebook Ads, and those traditional ad platforms to grow their users. So there's games out there that are doing the same thing today, but I'd still say it's still very early in terms of a lot of these studios that have gotten a lot of investment money, haven't fully launched their user acquisition campaigns yet. So we'll see in the near future some of these traditional strategies that will happen.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. One thing I've noticed is a lot of people are like, it has to be a AAA game. It has to be, super high resolution graphics and all this stuff. Yeah, that's great. And there's a lot of them there, but the world of Web3 gaming is wide open. And a lot of times to your point, you don't even know you're in a Web3 gaming environment until you start to, want to transact or there's betting, there's tons of things. And it's really, being cracked wide open right now, which is very, very exciting.
Absolutely.
So, and for my marketing friends out there and advertising friends, there is a bit of a Web3 mystery out there on how you do this stuff, but that's the fun part of unlocking, say, NFTs that we talked about before.
Yeah.
But it's really important for the audience to know that Web2 marketing and advertising tactics are still in play. Like this is, it's not business as usual, but it kind of is. It's you're not abandoning old school, your Web2, marketing playbooks. So really, really important to reiterate that. Hey, everyone. Wondering about accepting crypto payments for your business? Well, COINSUB makes the entire process quick and easy for both you and your customers. COINSUB offers secure, real-time settlements for one-time or recurring payments, all through an intuitive user experience. It truly is the easiest way to add an additional crypto payment option for your customers. I'm using it in my businesses, and it's made transacting with customers absolutely seamless. To get started today, use my promo code in the links. Now, as far as how do games and game companies on the Helika platform leverage both on-chain and off-chain data to create holistic engagement and growth strategies?
It starts at the very top of the funnel. So we provide end-to-end user funnel or gaming Fatui funnel, so first-time user experience, tracking a user, whether they come through a certain distribution channel or a referral link or an ad or what have you, landing on a page, signing up for an account, can be through email, connecting a wallet, doing XYZ after that. We map both identities. So once that user comes in, just from the web platform or mobile SDKs or the game engine SDKs that we have, and then all the way through wallet connection, mapping that on-chain address to the off-chain identity, and then everything that user's doing after that. So that's really powerful for game studios, especially in Web3. If they are implementing Web3 tech, they can easily see through that funnel if there's any specific drop-offs at any points, which could mean that there's friction in terms of the sign-in process, the wallet connection process, maybe even buying an asset. Like some platforms are like, you have to deposit X amount of ETH to start playing the game, and that could cause a lot of people to drop off. And maybe you got to think of another way to facilitate, that first entry point for users. So the main goal is get users in a very quick, seamless way. And then, you'd want to implement, if you have Web3 tech in the game, implement it more organically. So, you don't get users dropping off at any point if they don't understand it. And then from there, we're able to provide and empower game studios to build really cool, unique, and really what hasn't been done before in gaming audiences or segments of their users, taking all action points. So if I wanted to look at my users, all users that have spent, over $150 in the game, that have passed level 10, that also own more than, or have more than like 2 ETH in their wallet address, and are in the top 5% of activity in our Discord channel, we can build that segment for them. And then they can create really cool and personalize really cool experiences by the segment that they're making from their audiences. So you could, look at your users by whales, who has the most ETH or other token or NFT in our ecosystem, and actually playing the game, versus hardcore gamers that don't have as much on-chain assets, but are playing, 10x more session time, and cater different experiences to them. The whales, they probably care more about investing in the assets, more speculative trading, potentially earning some sort of APY, in which you can continue to point them that direction, because they still play a pivotal part in your economy, adding a lot of liquidity and a lot of value there in terms of the asset ownership and trading, versus your actual gamers that are playing a part in interacting with the other, with the game, the levels, the other players in the space, bartering, selling, doing XYZ to level up. They have a kind of like a different path and a different goal that you could cater to. So there's a lot of different opportunities for us to take that data, bring it all back to that user, and then empower you to make certain decisions based on multiple different actions. That doesn't just limit you to off-chain data or on-chain data, lets you do both.
Yeah. It's interesting because, user experience is a big part of my world, and being able to monitor and, to your point, alleviate some of the pressure points within the experiences is fantastic. But also on the flip side, as the vendor or the game company or the game itself, their teams are able to monitor who the high value players or the casual players, and then start to craft experiences that are really zoomed into their needs and their goals and aspirations. Very, very cool. Helika sounds more and more powerful as we go.
Well, I'll give you this example real quick. So one of the studios we're working with, I won't name them, but when we started conversations before they were working with us, we had a sit down meeting with them at a conference like a year and a half ago, and they were taking us through the process of how they kind of looked at their whales themselves. And they had like 3 different Google Sheets lists. They had all wallet addresses that they had to manually export from Etherscan, put in there every single day, scan to see how much ETH they have in their wallet, update it daily. They had to go through, Discord. They looked at how many messages they sent. They just did like all this data allocation manually across multiple different spreadsheets and multiple different tools. And we were just kind of laughing. We're like, you could, create that audience in 5 seconds with us, and you'll have the data ready to go, and it's, populated and updated in real time. So once they saw that, they were like, oh yeah, it's a no-brainer. Of course. Why am I spending all the time doing this in spreadsheets? So
it basically pays for itself. That's a lot of man hours, going into that. And it's not very easy. And sometimes the data gets a little murky as soon as, it starts trading hands, if you will. Now, because I'm, product guy, UX guy, brand guy, I love the idea of, being able to implement the right tools during the build phase. So what is within the build phase, how are people kind of working with you guys to ensure that, the plumbing is done properly?
Right. I mean, you said it right there, actually. Like, believe it or not, a lot of teams do struggle with writing game events and integrating data sets and writing telemetry, and especially with teams in Web3, where a lot of the studios that we're working with are very smart, native, and they understand the Web3 community and the Web3 space very well. And they have very ambitious goals and plans for building games, but they don't have extensive game experience. So at the very start, before even implementing the platform, we do a lot with onboarding support and telemetry support and helping teams actually write the right events and integrate it in a way in which everything is piping and sent to the platform perfectly, so that it is scalable and we can do like the really cool data aggregation stuff in the future. So that's first and foremost, a lot of the dedicated support we provide at the very beginning stages of our collaboration. Other points of interest is during a game dev build stage, a lot of game studios are still building communities. So we do have the full social tracking across X, Discord, TikTok, Instagram, Telegram, where teams are still, they might have, on-chain assets already minted, and they run a big social campaign and they're like, oh, wow, that increased our floor price by, 0.5 ETH. Like, maybe we should think about doing this more often because, we're making royalties off that. And that was really successful. So we can help provide a lot of correlations there, from running social campaigns to the social metric tracking and understanding community growth, and then how that relates to maybe in-game volume or in-game activity or on-chain volume and activity. Another thing too that we're helping out with is, I mentioned earlier, we launched 2 accelerator, more like venture programs, one Telegram specifically with Notcoin, another one that we got personal backing from the Pantera, Spartan, and Spermion VCs. And a lot of the work we do with studios that are coming up through that stage, like they're very early in game dev still, but they're talking to a lot of VCs. They're trying to raise their next round and close their next round to extend the runway that they have, so they continue to build their game. So we provide a lot of in-depth analysis for investors, like investor dashboards, and even exchanges. Teams are going to be running a campaign to launch a token. We can help provide a lot of key metrics and KPIs that exchanges care about, so they can help they can move further along in that process quicker, because investors always want to look at the data. They want to invest in a very strong data-driven studio. Same with exchanges. They want to list the tokens and list the studios that have a lot of traction and growth and across all metrics. So we provide a lot of visibility there while it's still in the early stages for game studios.
Yeah, super interesting about the VC dashboards. That's really cool. A little nerdy, and but everyone is playing well together and understanding the baselines and the numbers. So, right. And that's paramount for anyone within the private equity or VC world. And you said a lot of great things in there. And one of the things that, Max, that resonated with me is the idea that you're actually truly partnering with your clients, because offering them insight during the build phase, that means that, it's worth its weight in gold, literally, or Satoshis. So that's really important when if you're heading up a company or a game, understanding that your partners are not going to, here's your platform, figure it out, hit the forums. They're not going to be left holding the bag. And there truly is human support behind it. So that's great. The other thing you bring up, and I think is one of the biggest things, obviously, for Web3 that I've noticed, is the communities, right? You almost live and die by your communities, right? And people are fickle and they flip. But what role does kind of like blockchain-based community support play for Helika?
Yeah, I think just looking at the industry in general, everything. Life is community driven. You always want to be part of a community. You want to be, have your group of friends, and you want to be part of a group that's like you're very passionate about. I think blockchain, like assets, like tokens, NFTs, kind of takes it to a whole new level of loyalty, just because you have some financial incentives part of that, and that's why you see these meme coins going crazy right now, because you have people that are almost like working for their bags. They got in early, they kind of joined this group, and now they want to, similar to the NFT craze back in 2021, they want their token to succeed and appreciate in value. So they're going to be very close to the community and try to grow that community. Same thing with gaming. Gaming's historically been very community driven and very like group driven for success. So the combination of gaming and then leveraging the blockchain tech and having like asset classes within that are tied to financial value almost could really put gaming in like a supercharged mode in terms of growth. And if studios do it in the right way, where they can build a very organic, strong, loyal community, whether that's through just their gameplay, the communication that their team has. If they have like Genesis NFTs, they have a token coming up, that can play a really pivotal role. And we've seen a lot of success stories in which it has played a very crucial role in explosive growth for these game studios moving forward. So our goal with Helika is being able to help studios identify who their communities are. And maybe if they aren't in your community yet, you can see, okay, out of our group of players or a group of NFT holders, we also see a strong alignment with this game as well, or these assets. Like these, our gamers also own a bunch of Pudgy Penguins. So that gives us incentive to, hey, we're not really competing here. Like, let's go try to see if there's some sort of collaboration and partnership we can do with Pudgy Penguins, because it's pretty apparent from the data that Pudgy Penguin holders like our game and vice versa. So there's probably opportunity for us to kind of partner up there and potentially do a cool collaboration and grow together. So yeah, I think there's a very strong, driven by data insights, opportunity for studios to leverage Helika, and just like kind of lean on the community in general to grow.
Yeah, great. And if you know anything about the gaming industry, gamers are very particular about their communities, much like developers, and they take it very seriously, as they should. And they tend to run a tight ship. But I also really like the idea of kind of connecting the dots between partnerships and people's overwhelming joy or participation in something else, like Pudgy Penguins. That's very, very cool. And I have to bring this up because you cannot avoid the conversation of AI, right? And the topic of AI is everywhere. I don't care if you're in software, it's coming up. How does Helika kind of utilize AI in general, but also how to support kind of what we were talking about before, support the communities as well?
Yeah. So yeah, AI is it's a fun buzzword to always bring up. I think it's, every industry is implementing AI in some shape or form. Even individuals, myself included, use ChatGPT all the time, and kind of helps make myself more efficient doing some work. But so Helika's always had a very long-term vision and goal for leveraging AI, just because we have a very exciting product stack that's all data focused. There's a lot of opportunity for us to make lives of game developers and product leads and live ops managers more efficient through leveraging AI technology. So kind of like the goal and the end vision that we have and what we've been doing behind the scenes. We haven't released anything yet publicly, just because we feel the market's not ready for it yet. But we've been actively building it up. Is leveraging AI technology or ML technology for a few different things. First and foremost, one of the biggest problems in the space right now, kind of going to that community aspect that you're saying, is a lot of teams, a lot of studios that are running these play to airdrop campaigns, they get absolutely crushed by bots and farmers and cheaters and players that aren't really playing the game to play the game. They just care about the rewards. So we've been working on a lot of really cool models underneath the hood to help with bot detection or farming or cheating detection. So then when your campaign finishes up and you want to distribute tokens, you're going to be allocating tokens to the right users, the users that are actually playing the game to play the game, and not just farming or trying to like build some sort of bot internally to cheat the system and earn tokens. So that's one thing is that we're doing on the ML side underneath the hood, is to try to detect those so studios can have more smart rewards distribution. And then the other stuff is as we release more of our engagement and live ops tooling is leveraging AI tech to help detect and read economies and data sets and understand tendencies of users and players. What type of players usually do this in the game? What would they buy in this situation, so that you can better optimize the game? It's a long-term project and plan for us. So there's a lot of information we'd have in the future, but we're actively building out these models to, at the end of the day, help save a lot of time for these studios and accelerate the processes that they have outside of having to do it themselves, which can be a lot of manual work. And game industry in general, we see it's moving so quickly. So it's really important, and teams are getting leaner every day, especially in Web3. So it's really important to continue to build and innovate new tech that saves the time of developers and enables them to focus on what is very important at the end of the day, which is their creatives, the production, the gameplay, the game design, and the economy. leave the data, the optimization, the retention metrics to a team or a partner like Helika. Focus on the stuff that the players at the end of the day get to do and take advantage of and have fun with.
Yeah. And, frankly, probably much like yourself, I'm sick of hearing AI being sandwiched in every corner of Web3 and the web in general. But it seems like, the team at Helika is really focusing on utilizing AI to make both the developer experience and the end users or the gamers experience more seamless. So that's paramount. And that's like first and like table stakes. That should be taken care of right away. But then using AI to kind of enhance the whole data aggregation end of things is really great too. Now, the blockchain gaming sector is literally kind of going gangbusters, right? In Q2, I think, of this year, investments in Web3 gaming hit 1.1 billion, I think. Things are just taking off. It now Web3 gaming accounts for almost 28% of all dApps, which is really, really impressive. How do you see blockchain technology revolutionizing the gaming industry in general over the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, I always come back to one of the strongest value propositions of blockchain technology is peer-to-peer transactions, and the form, number one, in payments. So being able to facilitate payments globally with minimal transactional fee is extremely, extremely important. It's valuable, and it saves developers a lot of money, makes a lot of money back for them, as well as the end user as well. Things probably won't be as expensive in the future if there's new assets and so forth. There's less of a cut that goes to a middleman technology. So that's first and foremost, is continuously enriching and innovating on payment infrastructure and payment rails, which I'm really bullish on. The second thing is people like to say, ownership, asset ownership, which I think it's overused a bit in gaming, but it's actually extremely valuable if you think long term, for the sustainability of economies, being able to buy, sell, trade assets, not just in one ecosystem, but other marketplaces globally, and having limited restrictions on where assets can be sold or traded is very, it can play a pivotal role in the long-term health of an economy. That's really important. And then you think about the way of the developer side. Traditionally you'd sell skins, you make that money up front, and then that's it. And what you have to do next, sell more skins, sell more weapons, sell more armor, sell more packs. So, this is what game studios do all the time. They just have to keep selling new things. It's actually not the worst thing in the world to sell less, but you're earning royalties on assets that you're selling from previous instances. So if you end up building, if a game studio builds the next League of Legends or CSGO or a top tier team RuneScape with strong IP that have assets that 10 years down the road appreciate in value and people actually want to continue buying them, even if the game isn't live, they're still existent on chain in the form of an NFT. Those developers can still rake in and earn a percentage royalty on all future sales. So that's a really cool opportunity in long-term revenue potential just with blockchain technology. And there's many more that I'm bullish on. Could probably have a whole nother podcast about blockchain.
Yeah, probably. But you know what? I thoroughly agree with the idea of it. Usually a lot of things start within the gaming industry, rightfully so. But the idea of creating connective tissue between platforms, right? So basically setting free assets, right? People might not think, tokenizing assets. Well, that's one thing. And yes, that's already happening. but being able to share it cross-platform is really powerful, and I think like a big step forward in the future of gaming for sure.
Exactly.
So really exciting. And you're right. There's like 1,000 things to be excited about within the gaming sector alone. Now, user experience is a big deal for me. We talked a lot about it, actually, and how you're, Helika is helping, both clients and VCs and gamers and everyone else really have a better experience through data. How do you balance the need for decentralization with ensuring kind of seamless user experiences in your games?
Yeah, I would say this was a really 2 years ago. This was like a pressing question. Everyone was trying to figure it out. No one had the right infrastructure in place at the time. It hadn't been built yet, and it was extremely pivotal. And it still is extremely pivotal for the growth of games on chain. But luckily, we had enough infrastructure builders in the space over the last couple of years that raised a lot of money and built really exciting tech to empower studios with the right tooling and services to launch experiences on chain, but most of that being covered. So seamless sign-in technology, and being able to buy, sell, trade assets just by pressing Lily buy for $2 and not having to sign a transaction on a decentralized wallet and things like that. So I would say like we're in a better spot right now. There's a lot of strong infrastructure providers that provide that end-to-end, almost like user experience front-end tech to use. And really the goal is now is once you get players, you're acquiring players, they're signing in, they don't even know it. They're creating a wallet, they're earning assets, they're accruing value. Then farther down in the funnel, educating those users, what can they do with those assets? Here's what a decentralized wallet is, or you can buy, sell, trade these assets on actually these marketplaces instead outside of this economy. However, you want to think about it, there's opportunity now for, if we are wanting to facilitate the growth of Web3 users and the adoption of blockchain technology, it's kind of like the next goal and iteration of enhancing the experience to users. And that's just educating them on what the tech actually does and the value behind it.
Yeah. Fantastic. And, the idea of streamlining even like cross-chain transactions and trading and swapping is huge. It's not just the gaming industry that has issues with that. It's all of DeFi, basically. So super interesting. Now, I love little Twitch games, and who doesn't? And kind of like little modular games you can kind of get lost in. And they're becoming really, really big within platforms like Telegram, which is very cool. How are mini games on platforms such as Telegram helping to user adoption within or onboarding of Web3?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I would say the big problem in the space right now is just like user acquisition. Not enough teams are at the point yet where they're running these massive traditional Web2 marketing campaigns. So teams are looking for more cost-effective or affordable ways to acquire more users. And there's been a couple really big opportunities recently. One of that is Telegram, another one's Line Next messaging platform. So these mobile messaging platforms that very similar to WeChat back in the day, which I looked up recently. There's an article that came out in July. It looks like there's like 500 million active users, monthly active users on WeChat gaming, which is like massive. So the distribution is obviously there. Telegram, we're very familiar with the Telegram ecosystem just because we launched our Telegram gaming accelerator with Notcoin. We've built the tooling necessary to support Telegram game analytics, Ton blockchain, and Telegram channel analysis as well. So I can speak really well on Telegram. The Telegram app outside of the United States, in the United States, you can't access the wallet, but outside of the United States, it's actually very seamless. The wallet is built in. You can buy, sell, trade assets. You can buy cryptocurrencies. You can do whatever you want in the Telegram app without really knowing much about blockchain technology. So the opportunity for a game studio reach not only up to 1 billion users that are part of Telegram, but then almost like seamlessly onboard them into Web3 is massive. And that's why we've seen such a crazy dramatic growth in users in Telegram and the Tron blockchain network in general. Helika recently actually released a report, which we'll share after, about the Ton ecosystem and the massive growth that's happened, and the transactions that are happening on the Ton blockchain are like almost double or even triple in the last like month and a half. So the growth has been there. The opportunity is there. The next stage, and this is where Helika really comes in, is helping studios identify the real versus fake users, because the one downside to Telegram, there's a ton of users, but how many of those users are bots? And again, the worst thing you want to do as a game studio is give out rewards, tokens, free things to people that to non-real or bots at the end of the day. So that's like the next big hurdle is doing a lot of deep dive analysis on who are these users, and how can we continue to help empower studios to reward the right users.
But if you guys could solve that problem, whew, kudos, because it's a big deal, and it's very disruptive to every kind of form of digital communications in and out of Web3. So it's great to hear you guys are pushing forward on that in the future. One other thing, play to earn. I think. There's tons of people out there who just love gaming. It's a release. It's wonderful. But there's also, a lot of people who like to earn as they play, right? How does Helika help help monetize the whole Web3 gaming process?
Yeah, so it's a new product that we have that just launched with a partner. It was a soft launch, and we'll have some more announcements and news coming soon. Not sure when this will be posted, but it's called Helika Engage. The first iteration, and really the most applicable use case at the moment, is supporting empowering play to airdrop campaigns or point systems or points campaigns. And that's really on our side, validating data points and actions across on-chain in-game socials. So as a studio, you can run pretty complex questing, achievement systems, or leaderboards leading up to potentially a token airdrop or an NFT airdrop or something like that. So we provide the data, the tooling, the infrastructure, and even the platform to run those campaigns. And then, like I've said in the past, help with smart rewards distribution through bot detection, farming detection, and detecting cheaters. So that's like the first iteration of in the first version of us supporting these points campaigns or play to airdrop campaigns for game studios. And really what that leads into, and not many people talk about that, but that's really like what the first wave of, and what like the Web3 entry of live ops is in gaming in general. You have a campaign, like a time limited event for a certain amount of days, and you reward players based on certain actions or achievements that they do within that time. And then as you reward players, they get more, new assets, or they level up, they do X, Y, Z, but just keeps more of your players on their feet, helps with engagement, helps with retention, and then the opportunity to monetize based on audiences that you're able to get from those campaigns.
Fantastic. And Max, I was going to ask you, hey, what does the next 6 months look like for Helika? But I think you did a really good job of kind of seeding where you're going, as from a product development and innovation standpoint, which is great. It seems like you guys have a pretty clear road, and you understand what's important for all your constituents. So that's fantastic. So now a little bit for one question, as we're wrapping up a little bit here, I always like to understand from guys like you, what, personally outside of the world of Helika, which I know you're, heads down in, outside of that world, within the Web3 world, what are you most excited for in the next year or so?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I'm consistently looking for, like myself personally, being a big sports fan. I love, and that was the reason I got, full circle. I got in through NBA Top Shot. I wanted to be rewarded from assets that I bought that were from my favorite team. I think there's a massive opportunity in like the ticketing industry, or just like sports memorabilia industry to, as you collect, kind of having like a wallet or a profile, and you go to games, you have your tickets that are on chain, you buy certain cards or memories or moments, or you do a bunch of actions with that team, building like that fan loyalty, eventually being rewarded down the road through that. I think would be really cool, because the data is there. You'd be able to work with Helika to understand who owns what, and what people deserve, what type of awards or promotions or discounts. But we just haven't seen it fully built out yet. There's been a lot of teams trying to do that in the space, but would love to see that in form of blockchain technology. Other use cases, again, payments are a really big issue in general. So always looking to see how that can be, just being in Web3 growth. I'm traveling all the time, so I get to see firsthand now different countries, different payments that are accepted, different financial institutions, like really how governments are run everywhere. Like I really see it when I'm traveling. So that's where the big picture for me comes in on the value of blockchain tech, is like the payment side, the financial side is so important. So I think there's a lot of growth there still to happen and to be done.
Yeah, all really good points, and a lot of which I'm personally very excited for too. And, you brought up ticketing, and whether it's sports or entertainment, that's like golden opportunity, because everything starts with buying a ticket, right? Your kind of tokenized participation, and then as we spoke about earlier, the evolution of that experience just doesn't end, when you leave the game. It just keeps going, and your memories become almost tokenized as well, which is really, really beautiful. I'm a guy who saved probably about 50% of my concert stubs, right? I would have loved to have them all digitized as an NFT in one wallet, one place, bragging rights and or memories or whatever it may be. It's valuable to me, and that's important. And I think, ticketing is the gateway to that. So really, really good points. I'm excited for a lot of that stuff. Now, Max, how can the world learn more about you and Helika?
Yeah, helika.io is our website. Pretty easy. Helika. And then you can look us up on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Or on X, we're at Helika Gaming. And then myself personally, Max Kaufman, Kaufman on LinkedIn. And then Twitter, my Twitter account is at bigdog_Max. And you can go onto the website, you can book a demo through there, or you can reach out direct to myself or to the team in general. So there's a lot of opportunities to find us.
Awesome. And I will also link below. You'll be able to find all of Max's and Helika's links. Max, thank you so much. This has been, eye-opening and fun to learn more about kind of the data and analytics side of the gaming industry through the lens of Web3. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Rich. Had a great time on the show today. Thank you.